All right, this is Matt Merlick, and I'm not sure which work in progress I'm on for the Hulk, but got my paint room set up. I went and bought paints today, and we are going to start working on the skin tones on this guy. So after a nice email from Sonu, as far as like, he gave me some reference photos of things he likes and things he doesn't like. We're going to do, I've got a couple of builds as reference to get this guy going, and he wants more of an olive army green skin tone to him rather than kind of like the bright green yellowish skin tone. So what I'm going to do, this is my very first Hulk, so this will be some experimenting on my part. But I have a game plan in my head, and we'll see how far I get today. Ideally, I'd get the skin tones done and approved by Sonu so I could seal it, and then like move on to the fingernails and stuff like that. And he also has some pretty drastic changes he wants to do to the base, which I don't think will be a problem. It'll just be time consuming. So the first thing I'm going to do, since this is my first Hulk, I'm going to go with what other people have done in the past. And I'm basically going to go through, and I've already got him in this kind of army green skin tone already, just as a base. And this won't be seen in the end. I'm going to go through and do some noodling with some purples and reds and stuff, just real tight on the skin, just kind of real random and stuff. And that'll just give another layer of dimension. We want to get as much depth to this as possible. You probably won't see a lot of that, if any of it, when I'm through, but the plan is we use a lot of thin paint layers just to kind of, so you can get a lot of depth. If you start laying on solid colors, you lose depth. So the first thing I'm going to do is go in real tight with some noodling, and I'm going to use, the first color I'm going to use is going to be a red. And this is basically just kind of give an illusion of like, maybe some vessel underneath the skin. So, check my air pressure. Okay, right at 20 is where I'm usually at. We just start with some red. And again, these are going to be real, just kind of random. Real tight. And we're going to go from there. So, it's going to be a while before this actually looks like anything that we want to in the end. So, whenever I post photos, a lot of people question, like, well, is it going to look like that? Like, nope, that's just the first step. It's not done until I say it's done. So I'm going to do a little bit. I'm going to put my mask on. It's going to be hard for me to talk. And this booth is a little bit louder than my previous one, but the previous one also had the motor enclosed. This motor is open. So I'm going to go in real tight with the red first, and then we'll go from there. So I'll do a little bit, and then I'll go on time lapse. I'm going to try to get my first time in here, so I've got to kind of get my working way down. So the first color I'm going to noodle on is Mr. Color GX Red. And here we go, just real tight, at 20 PSI. Basically just drawing figure eights. Again, this is just the very first layer. And my top of my paint airbrushes fell off and splattered paint everywhere. Yay! Great way to start the day. Splattering paint everywhere. Good thing is the very first layer of paint. If this has been further in the process, I've been really, really pissed. But since we just started, it's not that big of a deal. It just makes some mess. So just make sure that's on good enough. And we'll do this again. So I'm going to go and do some time lapse. that took a lot longer than I anticipated, but this is looking good. So he looks like he's been kind of beat up and bruised right now. But I don't know if you saw during the time lapse, I went in a few spots and added some green primer back. When I first started, it was way too tight. I loosened up later, and it started to look really good. And actually, when I went to go spray the green primer back on top of the red, it looks fucking amazing because it looked like veins underneath his skin. So this technique works. I've never done it before. This is new for me. So I do see a few little spots I missed right here on the hands. I do that real quick. With the red. I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to do, I'm going to throw some purple on top of this. And I'm not going to do as much as I did the red. Because since he's base coated in green, this red isn't coming out red. It's coming out like more like a red oxide, which is actually perfect for what we're going for. If it was bright red, it wouldn't work as well. So the base coat of green has really made a difference as far as what this red's looking like. So even though we're not going to see all this area down here, I went ahead and did it. And so I had to add a light and get up underneath. So right now it doesn't look like much. But I tell you what, just from that initial kind of adding some more primer on, it was looking good. Also, you can kind of see I'm actually going in, and even at this very, very early stage, I'm starting to establish my shadows. It'll just help build up on those different layers, you know. So a couple pictures that Sony sent me, it looked like the paint of maybe 2 or 3 shades of green, and that's it. So there wasn't a whole lot of depth in the pieces. Let me move my little light lamp over some. So now I know I need to get another secondary light in here I can use to see up underneath things. But yeah, so some of the pictures you sent me look like they only used a few tones of green. So yeah, I'll have greens and yellows and purples in this by the time I'm done. And you're not going to be able to see that it's all green, purple, and yellow. You're going to see greens. You're going to see greens, but it's going to look really quite amazing. So even now I'm starting to establish my shadows. The face, I went in and I darkened the recesses of the eyes pretty good with this red. Same with this under the lip here. Under the chin, basically wherever there's a fold in the skin, I went in and kind of hit that a little bit harder. It's pretty subtle right now, but again, I don't know if we want real harsh shadows. The shading he sent me isn't real hard. It's pretty natural looking. So I'm just seeing some areas. I think that's pretty good for the red. I'm going to clean out my airbrush, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to do a little bit of purple, I think, which with this red and green undertone, I'm not even going to clean my airbrush. I'm just going to go in and do it. It's okay, I'll mix in. Let's see, in the news. Gotta find my purples. And blues. I moved all these around the other day when I redid my booth. I don't know where my purples are. Oh, they're back here. Alright, so we're going to go in with Mr. Color, just purple, number 62. And the booth is working really well. I haven't noticed any overspray or anything coming back at me, so far it's doing a good job. So again, I'll just put this on a time lapse. I'm not sure how long that clip is going to be. It seems like I was spraying for quite a while. So once I do this noodling with the purple, then I'm going to start laying down some of my green colors, working from dark to light. And again, I'm just going to work in thin layers, building it up. So I want to see all that work I did. I don't want to cover it up. I still want to see it. This purple's pretty light, but once it hits that green, it's going to darken up pretty good. So like I said, I'm not even clean my airbrush. I'm going to just add it to this red. And maybe a little more thinner. Mix that up. a little thin, it's okay. I'd have it thin then, too thick. Alright, so I'm going to put you back on time lapse again. And we're going to go at it. My battery may run out, or my memory card may run out by the time I'm done with this step. So here we go. Okay, so I think I'm done with that phase. Again, he looks like he's been beat up and bruised, but this is going to be a good base for the next step. So, if this was an acrylic, I would normally seal this, but since this is all lacquered, I don't need to worry about that. I'm just going to go ahead and go to the next color. I need to get rid of this paint, though. A second. Oh, I do need to fix one spot. What was it? Right here. I hit it too hard with the purple, and I went to go wipe it off. I wiped all my red and purple paint off. So I need to go hit that real quick with the red again, and then I'll hit it with the purple again. Give me 1 second to do that. I can worry about cleaning out my cup. Just gonna do it real quick, kind of blend it in a little bit. Yeah, I have to hit that with the style res again. Yep, just to be safe, because otherwise I'll have a weird spot there. So I'm going to clean that off with my brush real quick. Down and dirty clean. Tiny drop. I think I may just clog my brush. Oh, I don't like the compressor turned off. That's why. I got no air pressure. Real quick. Blend that spot in. Okay, so now I'm going to get my first green tone, which is a black green. I'm going to keep this purple out just in case I need it for something. I can't put it back in the jar because it's got some red mixed in with it. So the first color I'm going to do is Mr. Color 18 Black Green, and this is going to be my main shadow color. And I'm not going to go in this real. Oh, actually, I need to go through and do Mini Helpful real quick. I forgot about him, so let me do the noodling on him. Don't want him to look the same. So let me do that real quick. Do him kind of quick, down and dirty. turn my booth back on. It's going to be loud for a little while. Oops. So he's getting two paint for the price of one. He's getting two hulks painted for one. What a deal. Just real quick. It's kind of cool. It's like the character. It's like the study sculpt. Kind of neat. It's real rough. See all the artist marks in it. It's cool. It's like he did this one first, and then once he was happy with it, he used this as a reference for the big one. So the bottom of his feet, I'm going to spray the very last. I'll just do it as a dark green. It's just, there's like no way you could paint to get the bottom of the feet the same color as the rest of, like all the same techniques as the rest of the body. You'd be constantly flipping this thing over, which would just be a nightmare. Constantly scratching paint and stuff, you know. The more you move something, the more chances you have of damaging it, so. Hope you're okay with that, Sunny, with the dark green on the bottom of the feet. Like a you know, an army green. Little guy can do it because he's easy. Like, moving around pretty good. So it's red. And I've got my purple here. That real quick. What am I doing on memory? Surprised I haven't run out of memory yet on this thing. Got a bunch of videos on it I gotta download. Okay, I may take a break and download all my stuff so I don't run out of memory for the next few steps. That's what I'll do. So know this, I'll take a break, I'll go download everything. I'll have a fresh card and I'll get a fresh battery. Give you a full day of painting today. So my breeze seems to be working really good. I mean, even though I don't have my mask on right now, I can smell a little bit of fumes, but it's not bad. So, it's definitely pulling paint out. I do need to work on getting that ductwork changed out, but you have to leave your baby. You got a lot of paint to take then. Yeah, and the blue and red, this is simply just an underlying effect. He's not going to look like this when he's done, trust me. Poor Hulk would need a serious vacation after looking stuff like this, doing like this. Okay. That's pretty good. There's Mini Hulk, all noodled. Take a break, download, and then I'll come back for the first color green. Alright, took a little break, got something to eat, Now we're going to start doing our first color of green for shadows. Again, it's Mr. Color number 18, black green. Let me mix some of this lovely color up. And we're going and work on our shadows. For everyone who asks me what my thinning ratio is, there really is no set rule of thumb for thinning ratios. Typically 2 to 1 is a good thinning ratio for Mr. Color, but depends on the paint, depends on what you're trying to do. Some colors need more than other colors thinning wise. A lot of people say use skim milk as a good measurement, but again, it depends on what you're trying to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour some of this out. We'll start with my normal kind of 2 to 1. I may go a little thinner because I want to just kind of build up colors slowly. Spent a good hour and a half, 2 hours spraying all that noodling effect. I want to still see a little bit of it. I don't want to cover it up. This color seems like it needs a little more thinner than normal. Right about there. Airbrush going here. And we'll test this out on Little Hulk first. See how this is working. It's going to be good. Again, just in the shadows right now. Still doesn't look like a whole lot, but we're getting there. About done with the little guy, and I'm going to do some on the big guy, then we'll put it on time lapse again, and we'll get the shadows sprayed, and then we'll do the highlights, and then we'll put on the base color, see where we are, make adjustments from there. A lot of back and forth, going dark to light, back to dark again in some areas, back to light in some areas. Okay, so there's a little hole kind of shaded, shadows. Now we're going to come in here, and we're starting pretty tight up in the eyes. My other light going. Make sure I can spin them around. I have to come up with another secondary light source in here somehow. This is a good light. It just doesn't bend the way I want it to bend. That's what I want to do. Right here. And that one. Figure this out. Okay. So we're going to get in real tight in the eyes and start adding shadows. This guy's just big, has a lot of surface area. Sure, my hand's right in the way of the camera. hairline pretty hard. So if you guys can pick that up, but I'm getting some nice shading going on in the eyes, right here in the face. Hold on one second, I'll take this off the little mount here. So we're getting some nice shading going on, some nice shadow definition going on. Trying to get somewhere. I'm going to put this on time lapse and then I'm going to keep going. So we'll come back. I'll show you when I'm done after this. So we got the shadows placed, and he's starting to look like something. Looking really, really good. Yeah, hopefully you can see that in the camera. Wanted to add nice dark shadows on the fingernails, all the recesses and stuff. He's looking sharp. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to clean out my airbrush. And the next color I'm going to use is, let me get these all straightened out so I don't get them mixed up. Green. I'm going to go up one step. And I'm going to use, sorry. Actually, I'm going to go to my highlight color. It's going to be really, really bright. It's going to look kind of funky, but I'm going to go with number 27, Interior Green. This is almost kind of like a yellow green. So once I get the highlights down, it's going to look kind of funky. But I'm going to bring them down after that, and we'll get them all cohesive. So let me mix that up, and then I'll show you that process. All right, so I got the Mr. Color number 27 on airbrush. We're going to start it out on little Hulk here. Again, this is probably going to look a little weird after this color, so don't kind of freak out. This is pretty bright. Paint maybe a little thin. It's okay. So it's looking a little kind of bright. That's okay. It's going to dry down. And then once I go in with the mid-tone, it'll all get tied together. So again, we're just getting the highlights and shadows kind of placed. And then I'm going to mist over a mid-tone color, which should knock down the highlights a little bit and make the shadows a little darker. All at the same time. That's the plan anyway. We'll see. It's gonna, for the face, it's gonna shade down this way. On the little guy. It gives him some definition. Again, I'm not covering up all my previous work. These are all pretty translucent layers. We want to see everything. We want to see all those layers working together. We'll give this guy a lot of depth and a lot of life. You know, skin's not perfect anyway. It's not all the same tone all over the place anyway. So, you know, we kind of want to reflect that a little bit. And this will dry down a little bit too, so. It's kind of a good idea, especially when you're spraying like Mr. Colors, lacquers. You really don't see the real color until after it's dried a little while, so I'll spray the highlights and then I'll go take a little break again. We'll let it dry down. I'll come back and look at it. But I'll still be, I won't be done after I do the highlights. And then I do a base color, my mid-tone. I still won't be done with all the shading. These are all preliminary steps to get to till I get to the very last shading. And that's when I'll go in probably with a clear dark green that can pump up the shadows a little bit. So it's many, many layers, many, many steps. One thing I get a lot of comments about my paint work is that there's a lot of depth. Well, that's because there's a lot of layers. and you get a lot of depth by using a lot of layers, just building it up, building it up, building it up. If I just threw down a base coat of dark green, highlighted it, it would look really boring. It would be really flat looking. We don't want that. We want exciting. And actually, this green right here, a lot of guys would like this green for Hulk. It's a cool. This is a interior green. It's pretty bright, but going down on these dark colors, it's it gets muted quite a bit. So I'm using Mini Hulk kind of like the sculptor. It's my test bed for how I want to shade and blend. But he's looking pretty cool already. I can still see all my little red and purple noodling I did. I don't want it to stick out. I just want you to kind of get the sense that it's there. So again, we're still building up layers and layers and layers and layers. So like that noodling, that first step of noodling took me about a little over 2 hours to spray. The shadows took me a little over an hour and a half. Yeah, so I'll have a solid 8 to 10 hours just spraying paint today, and that was my goal. That's why I was busting my ass to get the spray boot done, because I could not paint this guy without this new boot. It's 29 degrees outside right now, which means I can't paint my garage. It's too cold. So yeah. I'm excited. It's my first Hulk. Pretty excited about doing this guy. The base, man. Sony wants me to basically rebuild the base. He wants me to turn into concrete, which I can do. Can get a lot of Bondo work. Good thing I used to paint cars for a living. I know how to use Bondo pretty good. That's something I have to like sand outside. It's gonna be so messy. I'll have to work on it outside. These will be pretty cold. This is in the world. Okay, so there's Mini Hulk highlighted. We're gonna do the same thing on Big Hulk, and then we'll go on back to time lapse. Okay, so we got the highlight sprayed. It's looking a little yellow right now, but don't worry about that because that's okay. We're going to take them back to a darker green in a little bit. I'm going to let this dry down for 30 minutes or so, and then I'm going to come through and I'm going to mist on the mid-tone. But before I do that, once this dries, I'm going to go back. I'm going to hit the veins with my initial dark color, that black and green. I want to get those darkened up before I put the mid-tone on. That way they can look buried. Once I get the mid-tone on, I'll look at that, and I'll do any additional shading. But I really, really like the way he's looking right now. He's pretty contrasty, and he's a little on the yellow side, which is not what we want. We want more of a military kind of olive green look. Actually, Mini Hulk dried down pretty good. Looking really good right there, man. So, yeah. So I think, once this dries down a little bit and I get a mid-tone, I can do the veins and a mid-tone, then we'll evaluate, so we have to go from there. So I'm going to take a little break and I'll come back and do the mid-tone. Okay, so we let him dry down for about 30, 40 minutes, and he looks good. I'm really happy with where I am. I sent Sonia a few pictures, and he's digging it so far. But we're going to knock some of this yellowish tint down, and what we're going to do for that is we're going to use Mr. Color Olive Drab. Pretty simple. So again, I'm going to mix this probably a little thinner than normal, so I don't want to, again, kill all my work. And after this color, I probably will have to go back in and do some more highlighting and shading and stuff. Again, we're still kind of getting the base layers down before we finalize any shading and stuff. So we're moving along pretty good today. Yeah. Been spraying since about noon, and it's about 5 o'clock. So about 5 hours to get to this point so far. Which is fine. Been a productive day. All right, and we'll get some thinner. And we're just going to really kind of just mist this on. We're not really covering too much with this. There. Again, we're going to have another shade of green that I purchased, but it's more of a forest green. So we'll see what this looks like. That may be my final like shadow color after we get this done. Again, I'm going to use Mini Hulk as my test bed. Some gloves. And my booth is working really nice. I'm happy about that. All the work put in a few days, past few days to get this thing up and running again. It's been worth it. All right. Here's Mini Hulk. Again, just got this Mr. Color Olive Drab. It's number 30. If you're following along and you want to, or 304, sorry. And basically, we're just going to do this. We're going to come in here and we're going to mist this on. Hopefully, this will tie everything together a little bit better. Get my mask on. So I do a lot of spraying like this is when you get a lot of overspray. A lot of misting. When you tie down a piece, you don't get a lot of overspray. Okay, so it's kind of like what we're going to go for right there. It's looking pretty good. So I'm going to do that to the big guy. I forgot to do the veins, so I got to do that before I do this. So I'm glad I thought of that. So I'm going to pour this back into my cup and get out that dark green color again. So I got to do the veins before I do this color. So one doesn't look buried under the skin. I'm glad I thought of that. Because that would have been, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this cockpit color, my third color that I have here. That's the vein color. That'll work well. So I'll go in tight and spray this on top of them. Let's see what this looks like. Nope, I think I need to go with the black green. It's not quite dark enough. It's a little too similar to the Midtown. So get some more of this going. So that my cup from earlier I can use. That's that black green again, so we'll use for the shadows initially. Going in and do the veins. Though my hook doesn't have veins sculpted in. There. Clean up my cup. Some thinner. Get my colors organized. Got a few that are very similar. I don't want to get it mixed up. Black green. And we're gonna come in real tight on these veins. See that? If the vein is a softer vein, I back off a little bit, make it a softer shape. If it's real kind of raised to the surface, I make it darker, a harder edge. Again, I'm going to go on time lapse because this could take a while. Okay, so got the veins done. Didn't take too long. Now we're gonna go back in with that olive drab and start blending it in, and we'll see what we look like from there. Okay, so it's a little hazy in there. Don't worry, my air booth will suck it all out. But when you're spraying that much paint at one time, it takes it a second for it to get pulled out. This looks pretty good. So I'm gonna let this dry. Again, I'm gonna let this dry for a little while. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna pump up the shadows. But for the most part, his skin is where it's gonna be. So you can kind of see here they both look very similar. I kind of killed a couple of my veins. I have to go back and hit those again. But this is looking really, really good. The midtones and the highlights are where I want them. I just need to go back in and pump up the shadows a little bit. And I'm going to do that with, I'll probably go back in with the black green again, really thin, and use it as a transparent color. Because I don't have a clear military green. I have clear green, but it's really bright. It's not the right color green. So I'm going to let this dry down, see what this looks like, and then I'm going to come back and hit the shadows one more time, and then I think this skin's pretty good. So we'll come back in a few minutes and do the shadows again. Okay, so this is dried down a little bit. I'm going to go back and hit the shadows one more time to bring those a little darker back, bring the darkness back a little bit. And then I sent a picture to Sonu, and he wants a little more green, so I'm going to probably mist on a brighter green after I'm done with this. I don't want to lose this kind of olive green look, because that's what I was told he wants, is olive green, but I do have some a brighter green I can get. He wants a little more saturation, which is what I'll do. So I'm going to go bump up the shadows and hit some of the veins I kind of lost a little bit, and then we'll mist on some brighter green. Okay, so we got the shadows in, went back and just pumped them up a little bit, kind of hit a little bit of the veins that kind of accidentally kind of went over too much when I was blending it in. So I sent pictures of Sonu, and he likes the shading. He just wants a little more green in it. So if this was my piece, I would probably leave it right here. I really like this. This is kind of what I think of when I think of Hulk, is this kind of army green. And even though I've done all these different layers, you can very slightly see that very first step I did with the reds and the purples. It's very subtle. It's underneath all these different layers of green, but it really gives the skin a sense of like life. You know, it looks like blood vessels underneath the skin. It looks really freaking cool. So that's actually kind of the first time I've ever done that technique too. So what I'm going to do is I got two choices to kind of liven this up. Sonu wants a little more vibrance or saturation. So I've got a clear green, and I've got this Mr. GX green, are like my two choices as far as what to do. Luckily, I have a little practice Hulk that I'm going to try this on. I'm inclined to try the clear green first, because I can put that on pretty lightly. And this is a bright green. It's pretty bright. And what this will do is it'll shift the color just a little bit, but I'll still see all my work underneath. So I'm going to try this real quick on the little Hulk, really lightly, and see what it does. Because again, I've got 7 hours of painting right here in front of me that I do not want to screw up. It's one of those things where if you kind of fuck up, you have to start over. So let's mix a little bit of this clear green. And mist it on Little Hulk, and see if we can just can't bump up the saturation and vibrance a little bit. So this will be a lot of just kind of misting this on. Now this one I actually should have probably measured my thinning ratio, because I'm using this is the Mr. Color GX, and that's pretty consistent. The 2-to-1 thinner to two parts thinner to 1 part paint is pretty consistent with these colors, especially the clears. Clear paint, you got to be pretty careful, because it's real easy to make it run or have it pool if you hit it too hard too fast. So again, I'm not even going to run this thing out my airbrush. Oh, I already did. Never mind. Let's put a little this in here and see what we get on little Hulk. I'm going to move this guy kind of to the back and to the side so I don't get anything on him yet. I really like him. He looks really good. Just gotta kind of stick him there. Okay, I need to get glove on. And let's see. This will be a long video, so but it'll be a good video, because this will be good for anyone who wants to know how I did this, and it'll be good for me for if I ever want to replicate this again. Give me 1 second. I'm relaunching my camera app. I love my new little action camera. It's awesome. I can kind of clamp it anywhere. I can see what I'm doing on my phone. So I know my framing. It's much easier and a better video on this. Okay, so again, this is the Mr. Color GX Clear. It's GX number 6. And we're just going to kind of mist this on. We're just going to shift these colors a little bit. I get my mask on because when I'm misting it, it kind of gets everywhere. Woo. And I think that achieves exactly what we're going for. So turn those yellows a little more to the green side, adds a little more pop to it, so this is looking good. Okay, hopefully it shows up in camera, but if you look at this leg compared to this leg, you can see the difference in the tone from using the clear green and not putting it on there. It shifts it just a little bit more towards the green end. All right, that's it. That's what I do. It looks really good. It does actually look better, so I'm going to do that to the big guy. think I'm there. Went back in on the hands a little bit, kind of blended those in a little bit more. They look more natural now. Hit them again with some little highlights. I mixed up a mixture of green and clear green and clear green and clear black, and went back in the shadows a little bit. I think this is looking really, really good. I really hope he likes it, because I wouldn't want to touch it after this. So I'm going to go ahead and seal this real quick, knock down the sheen a little bit. It'll give us a better idea of what he looks like, and then I'll shoot some pictures over to Sony and see what he says. So I'm just going to hit that with my Crayon matte finish to knock it down. And then we'll take some photos. Shake this up really good. And it's going to get really hazy in here real quick. Because even my old booth, so I know it's sucking because the filter's turning green, so I know it's good. Even my old booth didn't do well with rattle cans. So we'll see how this does. I don't think it's going to do very good, but we're gonna do it real quick. All right, I'm going to let that dry for a little bit and then take some photos and send those off and see what he thinks. Okay, so I just talked to Sonu on the phone, and we've decided that the skin looks good, and he's been approved. So, yeah, I'm really happy with this. If you watch the video, you'll see the whole process of what I've done. You know, I spent about 9 hours in here spraying this guy today, just working my way up with those very first layer of squiggly lines and building up layer upon layer upon layer. And when you get in and look close, you can see all the way through back to that very first layer of paint. You can see very subtle little, kind of what looks like veining from those blue and purple squigglies I did. It really adds a huge amount of dimension to the piece. And then going back with the, gotta wipe the lens off, with a clear green to kind of shift the color more into the a slightly brighter green, and not so muddy looking was a real key factor to doing that. And then I did go back in and kind of hit the highlights again on the hands and the wrists a little bit because they're so detailed and really cool. I mean, the whole thing is sculpted amazingly, but I really love the hands, and the feet are just killer. So, and the face, it's hard to see, but the face has a lot of dimension. Again, It's got all those layers. You can see all the way back to that very first layer I did, all the way back to the Stynylrez Res primer. So, you know, just a lot of really thin layers, just and being able to see all those at the same time gives a lot of depth and dimension and adds a lot of life to this piece. So he's been sealed. I could try to tackle the fingernails tonight, but I really want to let this dry overnight. He's got a lot of layers on. I want him to cure really well. And then tomorrow I'll tackle the fingernails. I think those would be the next challenging part because we're pretty specific on what he wants, kind of yellowish, grungy looking toenails and fingernails. But I think once I get the process down, it'll go pretty quick. And then after that, it's the portraits. So I'm going to optimistically say that I should have him painted tomorrow. We'll see. I don't want to make any promises, but it took me 9 hours to get, a little over 9 hours to get this far today. But I think the results are really, really good. And I'm super excited with how he looks. And for being my first Hulk, I mean, come on. I mean, it's like one of the best, most sought after pieces out there, and I get to paint it. So how cool is that? And Sonu seems happy with it so far. So thanks for watching. That's Matt Mrozik, and we'll catch you guys later. Bye.